Welcome to the Shrink Wrap Show. I'm Pam Hernandez-Kaufman.
And I'm Talia P. We're two shrinks bringing you holistic health hacks.
With our 30 years of combined experience in therapy, we share helpful information about common issues that everyone faces.
Then we break down powerful, proven tools you can start using right away to better your life and your relationships.
Let's wrap.
Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about neurodivergence.
We are. And the reason we're talking about this, right, Talia, is that there is a lot of labeling these days. Narcissist. I'm married to a narcissist. Mm-hmm. My boss is a narcissist. My child is a narcissist. Everybody's got narcissistic personality disorder. So, and what is interesting about that is that you can be neurodivergent, mm-hmm. and it can look very narcissistic, but it's absolutely coming from a completely different place, a completely different brain structure, and a completely different need. So I don't know if you've seen this in your office, but I have seen many couples who come in, and traditional therapy doesn't work if you have a neurotypical person in partnership with a neurodivergent person. And so we can talk about that piece. But first, just to differentiate between the two things. So for a narcissistic person, and again, we've got to kind of talk first about there is a spectrum, mm-hmm. right? Yes. There's a whole range from down here, mild. This would be more immature. I'm super ego-centered. I'm selfish. It's all about me. To this moderate category where, it is about me, mm-hmm. and I need to get my needs met. That's more important. Mm-hmm. All the way down to this very severe level where these people are more sociopathic. Right. There's a lot of pathology there, mm-hmm. and there's probably not going to be much ability to help them. So this would be a full-blown personality disordered person. Not necessarily is what happened, is that happening here. So this is narcissism. And this is coming from a place of fragile ego, mm-hmm. deep wound, long time ago in childhood, so that I now need to protect that fragile ego. Yeah. And so it's all about me. Yeah. Getting my needs met. I didn't get them met. Or maybe I got them met. And we'll talk more about this in our narcissistic podcast. Mm-hmm. But right now, we want to talk about the difference between that and mm-hmm. neurodivergent.
Yeah, with neurodivergent, it seems like with neurodivergence, it's early on, whereas narcissistic personality, that's a progression over time.
Well, and it can be both ways, but yeah, you're going to have a neurodivergent brain mm-hmm. more likely earlier on. Right. Your brain structure is different. Yeah. So for the neurodivergent person, they may be self-referencing, but not because it's all about them, as with the narcissist. They're self-referencing because they have a very difficult time seeing it could be this, or it could also be this. Yeah. So having two viewpoints, very difficult for them.
What's going on in the brain in a neurodivergent?
The brain is structured completely differently. Mm-hmm. So it starts at a place where the part that would get activated into limbic system activation, mm-hmm. it happens much more quickly. Okay. And so they need to manage themselves. Yeah. And it's difficult for them with the social cues. Yeah. So socially, this is really difficult. There's a lot coming in. Sensory stimuli.
I was about to say sensory overload.
Sensory overload. So for the mm-hmm. neurodivergent person, and when we say neurodivergent, we're talking about spectrum disorder. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They are getting so much stimuli in that what looks like narcissism is basically just an attempt to manage their core, to manage all of this that's coming in that is so overwhelming for them. Mm-hmm. And you can see how that appears to be. Well, it's all about you, right? Yeah. So, and that's not the case at all. My advice mm-hmm. and counsel that I give for this couple that's very tricky to be in this kind of relationship, the person who's neurotypical really needs to manage their expectations mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. and understand that this isn't narcissism. This is different brain structure. So other parts of the brain that are in a typical brain or of a certain size are larger in that brain, like that amygdala area.
Yeah.
And for the neurodivergent person in the relationship,
The
neurospicy, they need to learn. They actually need to come to an understanding of, your brain functions differently.
Yeah.
And your person feels forgotten, feels like you don't see them. Right. So I had a couple come in one time and she says, he never says ever that I look good in this outfit that I bought. And I took 3 hours getting ready to go out to dinner. And he never said a thing about I looked good. He never says he loves me. So I'm like, hey, what about this, dude? and he says, what? I'm so confused. Why would I tell her I love her when she already knows that?
Right.
Why would I tell her she looks good when it's super obvious?
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot of emotional acuity is
if it's obvious,
challenging for them.
Why would I say it? Same thing happens in corporate relationships. Right. I'll have a client come in and say, I don't understand. I have all of the capacity to be CFO of this company.
Yeah.
I know everything. I don't even really need any coursework or CEUs or anything else. But when I'm in a meeting and I see someone present a bad idea and I say, that's a terrible idea, I don't understand why they won't promote me, right? This is obvious to this person.
Yeah.
So this is a
hard
very
for them to read the room.
analytical way to think.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, we're going to have to teach you what you need to do. Yeah. So in the relationship, hey, I need you to tell her, even though it's obvious,
right?
I need you to tell her she looks pretty. Don't say something critical to her if you want to have sex tonight, right? Because they're saying, you smell bad, not going to fly.
No, right.
Don't say it, even though and I can see them just not able to even wrap their head around it. It doesn't need to make sense.
Yeah.
You just want the promotion. You just want the relationship to work. So they have to learn how to behave neurotypically, even though it's completely against their brain structure.
Yeah. And what I use in practice is the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 booklet. And that helps with understanding yourself and what you need. So self-acuity, but also other awareness as well, and your relationships with each other.
So then I know where I'm coming from, where you're coming from, and I can...
And that is really helpful for my neurospicy, my neurotypical couples, because they're able to look at that book together and say, okay, this is really where you need to work on your self-awareness or other awareness. And managing relationships is helpful with that assessment, in particular with the Emotional Intelligence 2.0. They have an assessment on there. And it lets you know like where you are and what areas you need to work on. So I think it's a very helpful tool for my patients. I don't know what you use, but
I do a lot of bibliotherapy, so I'll recommend a lot of books. There's a great book called 22 Things a Woman Must Know If She Loves a Man with Asperger's Syndrome. And we don't call it that any longer, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is just 22 things that you're going to have to manage your expectations.
Yes.
You're going to have to get some of your emotional needs met outside the relationship. Applaud what is there. Notice the good in the relationship, because there's a grief.
Yeah.
There's a grief associated with this as I realize I am married to, or I'm in a relationship in some other way with someone who can't function the way I do.
Yeah.
Again, this is nothing about intellect.
Right.
Processing speed also. We know that in neurodivergent people, the corpus callosum in the middle of the brain separating the two hemispheres is thicker.
And that's the same for men too.
Same for men. So we've got the men, and then we've got even thicker for the neurodivergent brain. So getting over from analytical to emotional and back again, this is a long journey for them.
Yeah.
So the processing speed looks very difficult. And they will oftentimes have a look on their face like, what are you talking about? My husband's neurodivergent. I didn't know this when I married him. I did not notice it. It's this kind of speaks to your point about it kind of is progressive.
Right.
And so just in recent years, I've really noticed as his hearing has been different and as he's aged, it really shows up. It's more taxing for him to respond in a way that, and you and I talk fast, think fast, we process, our processing speed
and on to the next thing.
I'm already on.
Yeah.
Right? Another thing that can happen oftentimes with the neurodivergent brain is the need to relate all the different details along the way. By the time they get to the end goal, the end line here, sometimes we're not even clear what they're talking about. But asking them to speed it up, my clients will tell me, and so does my husband, but I see things like a movie. And how can I leave out that really important detail? That's part of the motion picture.
Yeah.
So I can't just tell you. So it's a grieving process. It's work for the neurodivergent person to almost task-oriented or learn by rote. Here's what that person needs. Here's what will work to get that promotion. You cannot say in a meeting, bad idea, dumb idea, you're dismissed. You need to begin to keep that sort of information in and applaud people for what they do, thank them, even if it seems logical that they would feel appreciated.
Right.
So it's very, very tricky.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the nuances of a narcissistic and the neurodivergent.
So
why does that get
misconstrued?
Misconstrued. Yeah.
The narcissist is reading the cues. But their reality, their needs are more important, so they'll ignore the cues.
Gotcha.
They'll ignore the needs.
So it's more about awareness.
Right. It's about me. I'm aware of it, but the neurodivergent person is not aware.
Okay.
So they're not intentionally hurting anyone. They're not intentionally being self-referencing. Their brain is, this is the correct answer.
Yeah.
And over here is, my answer is the correct answer. So it's just coming from a completely different place.
That makes a lot of sense.
So one of the things we really want to stress today is don't label your person, don't label your somebody in your life necessarily narcissistic, because it may well be that they're on the spectrum. By the way, we have, as we know, other issues that come under this category of neurodivergence, like ADD, OCD, dysgraphia, dyslexia, dyscalculia, any of those kinds of things where the brain is just a little bit different. Things that should be a size are larger, things that should be another size are smaller. And so
sometimes that comes from trauma.
And that can come from trauma.
It can be environmental,
as well.
It can be genetic, it can be nature, nurture.
Yeah, Tony Atwood has some great materials, The Complete Guide to Asperger's Syndrome. Again, using that old term, but a great book. And Temple Grandin's material on living with neurodivergence. So again, not necessarily narcissism. It might be neurodivergent.
Yes.
And get some resources, get some help. Manage your expectations if you're neurotypical, if you're neurodivergent. Learn how to relate in a neurotypical world.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we thank you for being with us.
Yes, thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time. We're so glad you joined us today on the Shrink Wrap Show.
If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, remember to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and share the show with people you care about.
Also, your feedback is valuable, so leave a comment, question, or suggestion, and we'll see you next time
on the Shrink Wrap Show.